Hey guys, it's Tim from Hobgoblin's Hideaway, bringing you yet another comics review. Okay, so welcome back guys. Thanks very much for tuning in again. We appreciate all your support across the Facebook group and across our YouTube. We are growing. We're going to try and keep more updates coming through with new content all the time. Going to keep listing comic books for sale, keep grading with CBCS. You know where you can find us for that. If you need any help, don't hesitate to give us a shout. Okay, so thank you for anyone that got in touch after our last comics review. Really appreciate all the feedback and all the kind of suggestions of moving forward. We're going to do a few books today that we've already read, already covered the full series, but we've also got a few books that we're going to suggest or discuss that we've got coming up that we're going to try and read in the next few videos and hopefully bring you a few more reviews on those. Okay, so today, first book up is American Ronin. Lovely little book from AWA, one of my favourite publishers, as we've discussed before. You've got the writer, Milligan, Aiko with the artwork. It's a great book. Basically, the story revolves around a trained assassin, the American Ronin, so to speak, who's escaped the system and is trying to now take revenge on all the key figures and all the members from within the group, which he's just escaped. The guys that created him, so to speak. Now, the hook on this that's slightly different from your typical kind of assassin breaking free story. It is how he tracks his victims, how he stays one step ahead. Now, we see within the story and across all 5 issues that he actually injects or absorbs part of the DNA of either his victims or his targets, and then starts to understand how their mind works, starts to see into their history, their memories, and it's a really nice twist on how he's going about capturing his targets, how he's staying one step ahead of the guys that are now coming after him. They also want him out of the way, so you see a constant back and forth battle, but a really great book with a nice little twist on a kind of modern regular story that you would see. So obviously there's the book itself. We'll put up another few pages from the issues as well. You'll see those across the screen at any point. Like I said, really nice artwork, suits the story well. It's more of an adult approach obviously on the story, as you would expect from an assassin kind of tale, but it's beautiful. All books are in so far, but like I said, overall it's a great read. One of the benefits of it at the moment, it's fell under the radar a little bit, as a lot of AWA comics do. It's still relatively cheap to pick up. Again, we've seen some fantastic artwork, not just on this, but on the variant covers as well. Lots of choice out there for you, but it's just something different. It's got that different twist to it, which makes it appealing in my opinion. It's issues 1 to 5. They're all complete now. Another one of the AWA books that will soon to be graphic novel trade paperback, so you can pick those up nice and cheap, or you can just pick up the issues separately. Like I said, they're going relatively cheap now. One of the great things that we'll mention, guys, we've actually got 3 copies of issue 1 that we're going to give away to people that are watching the video, people that are listening in for these reviews and interested in picking up something new. So we've got 3 copies of this. We've got 3 copies of one of the other books as well. All you need to do to be in with a chance and to qualify is like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and just put a quick note in this Facebook page, which you'll see, to say that you'd like to be involved. What we'll do then is just pick 3 random people within those lists, and we'll send you out a copy for free. Can't say fairer than that, guys. Okay, so the second book we have up today is We Only Find Them When They're Dead by Boom Studios. It is an ongoing series. 1 to 5, I believe, is, as typically with most comic books, is the first story arc. They have announced that there is a new story arc with issue 6. Al Ewing has done the writing. Simone Di Maio has done the artwork. Artwork is stunning, truly stunning. Not just the actual line drawing itself, but the colours, they pop so well on this book. It's everything you could want in a kind of modern day space sci-fi comic book. So obviously the story follows Captain Malik and his crew on board their god harvesting ship, where we see rival crews, rival teams battling and competing for the most profitable parts of giant alien gods that are found floating dead in space. It's quite a bizarre concept. no more bizarre than a guy wearing a Spider-Man costume climbing up walls, or you know, any other comic book story that we may have jumped on board. There's rules that these kind of crews have to follow, and they are governed as well by a police state, so to speak, that decides who can have what part, how much they can take, how they earn their income. But we see throughout the story that Malik isn't quite happy to just accept his part. He wants to find out more. So what we actually see is that he decides to break free of the structure and sets his crew off on their own agenda to be the very first team to ever find an actual living god, while he's in hot pursuit of the agents that have realised that he's broken away. One of the things for me in regards to a review side of this book, I kind of got to issue 3. Now for me, I found that it was becoming such a tedious read. It was very slow paced in my own opinion. I got to issue 3 and there was only so much you could read of a team being confined to a spaceship. Which is quite funny, because when you look at a lot of the online reviews or other people discussing this book, it's got such great acclaim. A lot of people are talking very highly of the series itself. It could be me. You know, did I do the wrong thing? Did I drop it too early? Maybe I did, but you know, it'd be interesting to see what you guys think of it. I just found that by issue 3, if a story's not moving forward, progressing well, then I'm going to lose interest. And when I find myself skipping text boxes or trying to move through the book too quickly, I know it's a bad sign. So for me, like I said, I dropped this at issue 3. Did issue 4 and 5 complete the story better? Did it change pace? Did it really improve in regards to what was actually happening in the book? Tell me, guys, drop me a comment, you know, drop me a PM, whatever you want to do. Be interesting to know your thoughts on this one. This is kind of the reason why I want to do some of these reviews. I'm really interested in what you guys are thinking of the books, whether it's books that, you know, I know a lot about, whether it's books that I haven't even read. I'm so interested in everybody's opinion on a lot of the books coming out at the moment. And another point to kind of back up or go against my opinion, you know, this book now, we're looking at print runs, we're looking at 4th print, 5th print for the majority of the first 5 books. So something's obviously going right, unless they printed these in a ridiculously low print quantity for each run. Something's obviously going right. They're in huge demand. So maybe it is just my opinion, but again, that's what comes down to the great thing about having an opinion and having a review. Be interesting to know what you guys think. Okay, so our 3rd book today, Grendel Kentucky. It's a 4-issue miniseries, again by AWA. You'll see a lot of these AWA books, guys. I am a huge fan, as I keep mentioning. Written by McComsey and with artwork from Tommy Lee Edwards. I was actually waiting 6 months for this book. It was due to be released a long time ago, probably as far back as September or October. Don't know why it was delayed so badly. Nowhere could get hold of it. The copies just weren't hitting the UK. I don't actually think they hit the US either. I presume they don't. But just couldn't get a copy of this one. So finally it's arrived with a 6-month gap. One of the great things is that because there was such a delay, issues 1 to 4 all pretty much dropped all at the same time. So we got the whole story, and it was well worth the wait. So the book itself opens up. It's quite a comical scene. It opens up very similar to something you would see in Rambo. You know, one of the characters in the book is arming himself to the teeth with every weapon imaginable. You've got baseball bats, you've got chainsaws, you've got shotguns, you've got grenades. It is pure overkill in its grandest. Unfortunately, it didn't do any good for the actual character that we were seeing as he met his demise. We didn't see how. We just found out that within about 2 pages he met his demise. So unfortunately, no matter how much he took into that fight, he was coming off as a loser. What we then see is this triggers the introduction of a couple of the key characters who are in the book. We see Marnie, we see him to be his daughter. She's the leader of an all-girl biker gang. Looks like she's a kind of runaway daughter. She's left town and is then sought out by the son, Denny, who seems to be still within the town. He's stayed close to his father, who we then find out is the guy that's gone down in a blaze of glory, so to speak. But then we see how this all kind of develops. So we head back for the family funeral at the town. Everybody kind of pulls together, and we see the huge community coming out to pay tribute to the person that we now find out is Clyde. And what we also find out is the town itself, Grendel, Kentucky, is a traditional mining town, which is obviously where Clyde was heading to at the very start of the book in his battle. Didn't quite realise it, whether it was just a tunnel. Turns out it's a kind of mine, coal mine. But the town has actually, over the kind of decades, has turned more into a marijuana farming town. And that seems to be how they find their income, how they get by on a daily living, with Clyde pretty much the kind of key figure within that role. Now, obviously, with his death, we start to see the kind of web of lies of the town start to kind of explode and crumble down around them. And we actually see that whereas the suggestion is that he's died via a bear attack, it's quickly found that that's not a bear attack, and it actually turns out to be something a lot more sinister, something unearthly, that's threatening the town, and turns out to be the monster that's actually dwelling within that mine. And how the town has been dealing with this for the past couple of decades, and how it all ties in. It's a great little book in regards to, there's quite a few nice little twists and turns. It's not an overly long book, only 4 issues long, but it does what it needs to do. It's a great series, it's a great read. Simple enough, it doesn't leave too many unanswered questions, which is always good for a short story. So this one, 100%. If you can, guys, go and grab it. Again, similar to American Ronin, I've got 3 spare copies of this that I'm happy to give away to you guys. I'd love more people to read this series because I think it's another one that's really gone under the radar. A lot of people have probably not heard of it or definitely not come across it. So we'll be giving away another 3 copies. Exactly the same system, guys. Like the video on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the video on our YouTube, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, I should say. And then just drop a quick post on this Facebook page once we actually drop the post, and just say, look, I'd like to be included, or claim, or whatever you want to say. Let us know which book that you're looking for. What I'm going to try and do, for some kind of fairness, because I'd like as many people to read the books as possible, only claim one of the 2. Don't claim both of them, guys, because we're not going to give them out 2 books to the same person. Let's let as many people read these books as we can. So we'll separate it, claim one of them, and then we're going to give them away to 3 copies of Grendel Kentucky and 3 copies of American Ronin. Okay, guys, so our 4th and final review for today is A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. It's a 2-book series by Behemoth Entertainment. It's written by Anna Lily Armapour with artwork by Michael DeWeese. And it's a book that completely throws us off. We weren't expecting it at all. It's actually a comic adaptation of a 2014 indie horror film. Blindly, we had no idea about this film at all until we picked up the book. It wasn't that we were kind of anticipating the book because we knew of the film. We knew nothing about it, in complete honesty. From the title, we kind of expected a girl's perilous journey home, being stalked or chased. Thought it would be a horror based around that, so we kind of wondered, well, how's this going to work? Where's it going to go to? But what we actually got instead, completely different. We're finding a tale of a skateboarding vampire girl as the main character that's preying on the kind of scum, the low life of an Iranian city. Completely off the radar. We didn't expect this one, didn't see it coming. Had we have seen the film, of course, we'd have known a lot more about it. But, we kind of looked at the front. we heard about the book. We tend not to look at what a book is about when we're picking up these series. I like the idea about just trying something different. And I find that if I read its pretext before it's even released, there's some books that I probably wouldn't pick up. So we try and jump into them. If we know it's a horror, especially, I love horror books at the moment, so if we know it's a horror, we'll jump into it anyway. But we're completely surprised and taken back by this one. It's not what we expected at all. It's got a very minimalist approach to both its text and its artwork. there's very little on a page. You'll see one large image, as we'll show you, and very small amounts of text. But that helps to create this kind of dark, brooding atmosphere within the book, and I think it fits what they're trying to achieve perfectly. But it wasn't until I got to the end of book 2 and tried to order the 3rd issue that I realised it was such a short series. And that kind of left me, again, it left me thinking, well, you know, am I happy with that? Is the book complete? As far as the story goes, you've got to the end of a chapter, so to speak, in the story. But I just felt, I couldn't help but thinking it was a little bit short, and it left me expecting more from the book. It could be a great thing, you know, when we see things that end suddenly, and we want more from them. Then, you know, that's not always a bad thing. But in this circumstance, I would certainly have preferred another few books to come on the back of it. Whether that tied into the entire series of the entire story of the film, I should say, I don't know. I have not watched the film. I do at some point want to go over that film and just see how it ties into the comic book. But I do think that it's a positive, it's a negative, and I'm not too sure where I want to go on this book. I think it's one of the only books that I'm really stuck and I'm kind of sitting on the fence. Is it the fact that it is so minimalist? Does that leave us expecting more? Because you've probably had, I don't know, maybe 100 words at the most by the end of the second book, from start to finish. And you kind of question, is that enough? Have I learned enough about this character? Have I learned enough about the story? How did she become the vampire? It may not exist, especially with a film. It may just be something that was expected, they picked up halfway through. But it's these feelings that kind of leave me sat on the fence. I'd definitely pick it up. It's still relatively cheap. We haven't seen the opposite effect where a comic book is released and then a film is announced and all of a sudden the spec jumps up and the book itself goes high in value. It's certainly a cheap enough book to pick up, and it'd be really interesting. Any of you guys that have already read it, I'd really love to hear your opinions on it and see what you actually thought, whether you were left with the same feeling that there needed to be more to kind of fulfill that reading experience, or whether it was enough and whether it should be taken on its own merit. Like I said, it'd be interesting to hear your reviews, guys, but for now, I'm sitting on the fence on that one. The fact that it's so cheap, I'd definitely suggest picking it up, just so you can give me some pointers and let me know, you know, your opinions on that series. But that's all the 4 books that we've got so far that we've reviewed for this video, guys. We have got a few more books that we've been covering as well. Okay, so there's 3 books that we've got in our collection. We're ready to read these ones, guys, and we're looking forward to bringing you some reviews on it. First up, we've got Philadelphia. I believe it's up to issue 12 or 13 at the moment. Now, a lot of you will probably know of this book and of this series, being as it's an Image title. It's a lot more mainstream than some of the AW or the Behemoth titles. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of this one. We're going to enjoy going through that one. Base story, from what we know, it's about a cop that's returned home to bury his murdered father. Obviously, while he's there, he starts to unravel all the mysteries that are going on around his death and kind of heads down a pretty dark path, which he's going to struggle to get out of. There's a lot of tales about corruption and vampires, so, you know, what's not to love? Okay, so second up, we've got Man's World. It's another AWA title, so really excited to get stuck into this one. About a group of friends that take a kind of interplanetary getaway on a resort planet, which goes a little bit pear-shaped when from what I hear, they run foul of the locals that are there. They're kind of working class, and they end up getting stranded on this planet and all the dangers that surround it. So it's a bit of an interesting concept, something a little bit different. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck into that one. I suppose from a story's point of view, it'll kind of test their friendships, their bonds, survival chances, etc. But we'll find out and get back to you on that one as well. Okay, guys. So thirdly is The Picture of Everything Else. It's by Vault Comics. It's at least a 4 to 5 issue series. I haven't had all the previews come through of it yet. Basically, the pretense is two art thieves stumble across a set of portraits that depict the victims of multiple recent killings throughout Paris. But the paintings themselves, you know, they resemble the victims in the exact manner as to which they've been killed. So we find that it's very similar to kind of Dorian Gray portrait story, and that then becomes the pretense of the story. Has the man who created that infamous painting kind of come back to wreak havoc once more within Paris? So that certainly sounds interesting. I'd be really looking forward to having a good read of that one. I think we're up to issue 2 at the moment. So we'll wait for another couple to drop through first before we start the reading process. I tend to find that if I've got one issue and I'm waiting a month for the next one, I drop interest a little bit. So I try and do 1 to 4, 1 to 5 as closely together as I can. But looking forward to bringing you some reviews on those ones, guys. Okay, so that's everything for today. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you continuing to support the group. Look forward to speaking to you and hearing some comments on what you thought about some of these books or any kind of recommendations that you guys might have moving forward. Quick note in regards to the CBCS submissions that we've got currently getting ready. We are doing another submission probably the end of next week, so kind of mid-March. The next submission will be leaving us. So if you do want to get involved in that and you haven't already got your comics to us, guys, make sure you give us a quick shout, give myself or Lucy a message. Let us know that comics are on the way, and we'll definitely make sure that you stay booked in for that one and get your comics on. I appreciate all the support, guys. Hope to speak to you soon. Take care.